I have never seen so much crying and begging for a game that people say is awful in my entire life. There's so much here to talk about. Strap it in. It's going to be a long one. Let's go. Yo, what's up everybody? You know who it is. It's Randall Thor19, the man with the million. Make sure you like the video, please, and subscribe if you're new. Let's dive right into it. Because yesterday, there was a whole bunch of shenanigans on social media. A lot of grown men whining, crying, begging for Xbox exclusives all across the internet yesterday. And you know what? Yeah, you're probably going to see Dark Rand come out in this video, because I've had enough of this stuff. You can't go out there and scream at the top of your lungs, Xbox needs to compete, and when they finally do, get all upset that actually they're going to be keeping some of those games exclusive to the ecosystem. The same people that constantly spread this narrative of Xbox has no games are the same people whining, bitching, and complaining that Redfall is not coming to the PlayStation, but more than just Redfall, Starfield's not going to come, Hellblade 2's not going to come to their system, and they're out here screaming at the top of their lungs that Xbox is a bunch of liars, that Phil Spencer himself has lied repeatedly to people. I thought everything regarding the Bethesda acquisition was an open and shut case. They were going to honor their contracts, some games would be multi-platform, but a lot of the games would be decided on a case-by-case basis. But apparently people have short memories, and instead of actually looking for the information, they claim that there's a whole bunch of lying and deceitfulness going on. Now, to set this all up properly, I'm going to start at the beginning. Yesterday, finally, influencers and creators were able to share their impressions about Redfall, the game that is coming out on May 2nd on Xbox PC and day one on Xbox Game Pass. It was very interesting reading some of the previews. I'm a huge fan of Arcane, so I've been locked in on this game since day one. The previews, for the most part, are pretty positive. Like, here's a headline from GodIsGeek.com saying that Redfall is a serious Game of the Year contender. We also have VGC getting on the action saying, "Fear not, Arcane fans, Redfall is shaping up to be an utterly engrossing single-player experience." But not everybody is 100% on board with the game. It is a preview after all. They are only able to play for 2 hours. We have PC Gamer with the negative impression here, saying that Redfall just doesn't seem to have that Arcane magic. Now, just some quick bits from some of the previews that my buddy Cloburl on Twitter had kind of collected. Says that there's no store in the game and there's no microtransactions. DLCs are planned for the future. Arcane is working to make the game playable without an internet connection, which is amazing to hear. Lots of the previews do praise the gunplay. Quote, "The minute-to-minute gameplay is phenomenal. At its core are design ideas that have enabled memorable exploration and narrative. Redfall is shaping up to be the studio's strongest shooter to date, and it's a compelling mix of Dishonored, Borderlands, and Buffy." Now, of course, we'll have to wait and see what the game's actually going to be like when people can get their hands on it, play the entire experience on May 2nd, but it's looking pretty good right now. However, nobody wants to talk about Redfall previews and what the gunplay was like and how big the world is. Those people were too busy calling Redfall mid-fall or something like Deadfall, basically degrading the game by saying that it's trash, that Xbox really has no good games. They were feeling very confident in this whole idea. But then something did happen, something that shook them to the core when they realized that, oh my god, we could have been playing this on our precious PlayStation 5s? And then it truly comes out that they're only making fun of Redfall, Starfield, and all the others because they can't have it themselves, and that makes them so sad, because at the end of the day, they really want to experience those Xbox exclusives. Because if you didn't care about the game and you were calling it all these names forever, why would you even give a shit that the game was planned for one point for the PlayStation 5? I don't care what Nintendo does. Nothing they do interests me. I'm not going to be like, oh, please, Nintendo, why don't you port that game over to Xbox? Nah, not gonna happen. If I want to play Spider-Man 2, I'm gonna get a PlayStation 5 to play it. If I want to play Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I'll get a Switch. And if you want to play Starfield, Redfall, Hellblade 2, Avowed, Perfect Dark, or any of the myriad of exclusives that are becoming from Xbox Studios, you're either gonna have to get an Xbox Series X and S or a PC, which I think everybody has, right? But it's nice to actually cut through all the bull and see how people feel. And what do they really feel? Oh, they are so down bad for Redfall. They want it on PlayStation. So, in an interview with IGN France, Arcane's Harvey Smith explained, quote, "We got bought by Microsoft, and that was a huge sea change. They said, no PlayStation 5. Now we're going to do Game Pass, Xbox, and PC." Originally, Redfall was meant to release on all platforms. Smith said that the studio didn't mind that decision, however. He continued, quote, "Support from Game Pass and have to worry about one less platform, one less complexity. And Game Pass has a ton of people that can play. It could be our biggest game ever because of the 30 million Game Pass members, or wherever that number is." So yes, clearly, of course, there was a version of Redfall planned for the PlayStation 5 at one point. Bethesda was a publisher that put their games everywhere. Microsoft didn't officially acquire them to 2021, and Redfall was supposed to come out in 2022. Newsflash, didn't you guys also hear about the idea? Sony was trying to lock down exclusivity of Starfield, just like they did with Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. Are you guys going to go over and be outraged when it comes out in July? Or whenever Todd does more interviews about Starfield that, yeah, at one point, we were going to put this on PlayStation. But they didn't, and it's been made explicitly clear time and time and time again that Xbox was going to do these things on a case-by-case basis. And the reason for the Bethesda purchase was for more exclusive. You know what? Don't listen to me. Who am I really? I'm just a small-time YouTuber. Why don't you listen to one of my favorite interviews with Phil Spencer? Check it out.
About exclusivity and how you think about that and how that's going to work with Bethesda.
Yeah, I see it. I see it in the community. I listen to the podcasts and all the questions. So I'm going to try to be as clear as I can because that's what I just think it's fair. So obviously I can't sit here and say every Bethesda game is exclusive because we know that's not true. There's contractual obligations that we're going to see through, as we always do in every one of these instances. We have games that exist on other platforms, and we're going to go support those games on the platforms they're on. There's communities of players. We love those communities, and we'll continue to invest in them. And even in the future, there might be things that have either contractual things or legacy on different platforms that we'll go do. But if we're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. And that's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building and the creative capability we will be able to bring to market for our Xbox customers. It's going to be the best it's ever been for Xbox after we're done here. This is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. This is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. This is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but listening to that about 4 or 5 times, I come to the distinct conclusion that Redfall and Starfield were going to come to the PlayStation 5, and Phil has just been lying to us this entire time. See, I know what this is really truly all about. These people have been making fun of Xbox and declaring that their games are trash for so long now that it's finally caught up to them that this Bethesda acquisition is about to bear fruit. And shocker, Bethesda is actually a really damn good publisher. They release quality games, and on top of that, oh my god, it's starting to look like Activision Blizzard might actually go through. So all these things are happening right now, and you know what? That means that Xbox isn't going to be the butt of every joke moving forward. They're no longer putting out yellow 70 below Metacritic exclusives. Now these games are actually high quality. And with Hellblade 2 and Avowed and the future AAA games on the horizon, not only are they releasing quality, but the big games are going to be here really soon, starting with Redfall and then with Starfield. And the fact of the matter is that you guys want to play those games so badly that you're willing to make yourself look like fools on social media and declare that somebody's been lying to you for the past 2 years when the evidence all points in the opposite direction. This is on you. But Rand, some of you will exclaim to me, Redfall was taken away from us. It was supposed to be on PlayStation and Xbox Live and took it away. I want it. I don't know how many times we got to go over this, but we'll start with Microsoft's quote to IGN yesterday. So in a statement to IGN, Microsoft didn't specifically deny Harvey Smith's statements about the development, but note that, quote, we haven't pulled any games from PlayStation. In fact, we've expanded our footprint of games that we've shipped on Sony's PlayStation since our acquisition of ZeniMax, and the first 2 games we shipped after closing were PlayStation 5 exclusives. We did the same thing since our closing of Minecraft as we extended the reach of that franchise. All of the games that were available on PlayStation when we acquired ZeniMax in March 2021 are still available on PlayStation, and we have continued to do content updates on PlayStation and PC. We have always said that the future decisions on whether to distribute ZeniMax games for other consoles will be made on a case-by-case basis. So my answer to you guys would be you can't take something away from someone that they never had in the first place. Redfall was an unannounced game and Starfield had no consoles announced for it. You aren't losing anything because you never had anything in the first place. Microsoft comments about not taking games away from PlayStation all refer to the games already existing on PlayStation like Elder Scrolls, Minecraft, Minecraft Legends, and things like that that will continuously get updated. It doesn't apply to future games. In fact, Microsoft said case-by-case basis. Who knows? Indiana Jones, the new title that Machine Games is working on, could very well be a multi-platform game coming to every platform. But wait a minute, I think there's another interview here from Phil very recently that also proves he's a liar. That he said Starfield was going to come to PlayStation and that there would be no exclusives and that they have pulled games from PlayStation. Check this one out.
So on the topic of exclusivity, some people have pointed out that when you guys over at Microsoft acquired Bethesda ZeniMax, that Starfield was stated as a title that wasn't going to be exclusive to Xbox, but has since switched. So I'm wondering, or at least I know some people are going to be wondering, is that going to happen to Call of Duty, or what's to stop that from happening there?
I don't think I ever said Starfield was not going to be exclusive to Xbox.
You know, now you said that, people are going to go through and watch hours worth of content.
And
I like the confidence.
Yeah, because I think what I said is we're going to take it on a case-by-case basis. Mm-hmm. I said we're not going to pull games that are on other platforms, so we'll continue to support the communities of games. And you know, as Elder Scrolls Online has been doing their annual drops and their content drops, those have been on PlayStation, those have been on PC, those have been on Xbox. All the PC for some of those ships a little bit earlier, but the console versions ship at the same time. We've updated Fallout 76 on all the platforms at the same time. Exclusive titles in the console space is part of the business. All platform holders do it. They're kind of, more than kind of, they are marketing beats for the platform, and we see that. Our competitors have a lot of exclusive games. So when we're launching new games, there are certain games that we're going to make. Exclusive for us is always a little bit hard because we ship everything on PC as well. But let's just say ship on Xbox and PC and available on cloud. And some of those won't be available on other competitive platforms. But there's no example in Bethesda of us pulling something away from the PlayStation community that they had,
zigzag on it.
Or games that people are playing, not us not continuing to update those. I'd say the same thing with Minecraft Dungeons and with Minecraft, and we'll do the same thing with Legends when it comes out.
Oh yeah, that's right. He didn't say those things. He never said Starfield was not going to be exclusive. They haven't taken any games away from PlayStation. But I already know what people are going to say next because I constantly see it all over social media when Phil Spencer, he hates exclusives. He hates them so much, even though he's mentioned exclusives in both of the interviews I showed here. But the one example everybody seems to bring up, out of context of course, because that is what people love to do to get their retweets and likes on Twitter, is his quote, and you might remember this because Kotaku wrote an article about it, and we are going to go after Kotaku a little bit later on. I know this video is getting long, but I told you it would be. You remember this? People use this all the time. Exclusives are completely counter to what gaming is about. Xbox's Phil Spencer says, anytime anyone talks about Xbox exclusives on YouTube or on Twitter or wherever, PlayStation fans will be quick to point out this one. basically to try to prove that Phil is a dirty, dirty liar and that he hates exclusives. But look what they're doing here. But the thing is, people forget where this quote even comes from and how it's completely out of context. But let me refresh your guys' memory. So this quote comes from a GameIndustry.biz article all the way back on July 10th, 2020, titled, "Are Xbox Series X developers being held back by Xbox One?" Quote, "Held back" is a meme that gets created by people who are too caught up in device competition. It's basically an article by Christopher Dring that was contrasting and comparing Xbox's desire for cross-gen in the beginning of this new generation. You remember how much crap Xbox got for saying, hey, we're not going to have any exclusives for the first couple years. Everything's going to be cross-gen. And then Sony's like, we believe in generations. And everybody vilified Microsoft for that until basically it was proven that Sony was sort of lying, or at least deceiving everybody, because they had cross-gen games too. This entire article is about that, about how PlayStation is going to make a games exclusive for the PS5 and Nintendo makes games for Nintendo hardware, but Xbox is putting stuff on PC, on the Series X and Series X. And this is where the Phil Spencer quote actually comes in and has nothing to do with actual exclusives. Let me show you. So the article is going to say that, yet regardless over whether developers feel able to fully take advantage of the Series X, the point for Xbox is that it's more important to be accessible. Nintendo may make a game that you can only do on the Switch, and Sony may build games that can only be played on PS5, but that's just not something Xbox wants to do. Quote, "As a player, you are the center of our strategy," Spencer says. "Our device is not the center of our strategy. Our game is not the center of the strategy. We want to enable you to play the games you want to play with the friends you want to play with on any device. On TV, the Xbox console is going to be the best way to play console games. Xbox Series X is the most powerful console out there and will have absolutely the best versions of our console games. But that's not to exclude other people from being able to play. Sorry, I'm a bit soapboxy with this one. Gaming is about entertainment and community and diversion and learning new stories and new perspectives, and I find it completely counter to what gaming is about to say that part of that is to lock people away from being able to experience those games, or to force someone to buy my specific device on the day I want them to go buy it in order to partake in what gaming is about." Now, if you read this entire article, and if you read these 3 paragraphs here, I don't know about you guys, but Phil Spencer isn't certainly talking about Xbox exclusives like Redfall or Hellblade 2. He's literally talking about the Xbox strategy of being more accessible, having a game on the Series X and the Series S, but also on the previous generation, so people don't feel like they absolutely need to go buy this piece of hardware. I'm not sure how anybody reads this and actually comes to the conclusion that Xbox and Phil Spencer hates exclusives, and they've been lying to you for years. I think a lot of people just lack reading comprehension and aren't very smart, and are upset at the idea of Xbox actually doing better, having exclusives that people want to play that are quality, and aren't really satisfied with what they have currently. But wait! There's more! The media also got into some of this. People exclaiming that Xbox is being untruthful, lying about their strategy, right? Kotaku wrote an article yesterday, which was absurd, about Xbox canning the PS5 version of a big game despite all the talk about player choice. And let me make this clear before I get into it. I do agree that Xbox's PR regarding the Activision Blizzard thing about wanting people to be able to play Call of Duty everywhere, right? Microsoft consistently talks about player choice. That does sort of hamper some of this. But in everything I've shown here, it's been proven beyond a shadow of doubt that some games are going to be made exclusive, and that Redfall and Starfield were one of those. I think some people can't grasp the idea that Redfall and Starfield can be exclusive, but Call of Duty has to be everywhere. And they get in their feelings about Xbox saying, we want you to play the games wherever you are. And they think, well, I want to be able to play on PlayStation. Like, I get it. Xbox sometimes wants to be that good guy, right? They don't want to be seen as the bad person, so they put out those PR things that sometimes come back to bite them in the ass. So I would say that I would like Xbox to be more clear and just say, you know what? Bethesda games are going to be exclusive. Call of Duty is going to be everywhere. And you know what? That's exactly what they did. You can go back and watch that Phil Spencer interview where he basically said, we made this deal for exclusives, and they're going to be on platforms where Game Pass exists. I remember this being a big discussion point after the acquisition of Bethesda where people were like, Microsoft needs to put these games on PlayStation because you can't just get rid of us. We're really important. At the end of the day, guess what? You're not. Microsoft doesn't need to put those games on PlayStation. Starfield and Redfall are going to draw customers to the Xbox platform to get them to subscribe to Game Pass. Call of Duty's on a different level, though. So they've been pretty upfront about that, haven't they? But in this Kotaku article, it goes on to say that Xbox boss Phil Spencer's past comments on exclusives. While Smith and Arcane might be pleased with Microsoft's choice to kill the PS5 port and focus on the Game Pass and Xbox ecosystems, it seems to directly contradict previous statements Phil Spencer made to Kotaku in October of 2020, shortly after the proposed Bethesda acquisition was first announced. Quote, "This deal was not done to take games away from another player base like that. Nowhere in the documentation that we put together was, how do we keep other players from playing these games? We want more people to be able to play games, not fewer people to be able to go play those games." I get it. Some of their PR about wanting to be a good guy kind of flies in the face about why is Redfall exclusive and Starfield? If you want more people to play, why aren't those games on PlayStation? Well, you know what's funny about all this is that this is an interview Kotaku did themselves, but the author of this article decided to basically cut away the context because there's more here to this interview that explains Phil's reasoning, where he actually says, we're not putting these games on PlayStation. So in that interview, the person asked, is it possible to recoup a $7.5 billion investment if you don't sell Elder Scrolls 6 on PlayStation? Yes, Spencer quickly replied. Then he paused, quote, "I don't want to be flip about it." And then he said all the stuff we just talked about highlighted in blue, but he went on to say more. But I'll also say in the model, I'm just answering directly the question that you had. When I think about where people are going to be playing and the number of devices that we had, and we have xCloud and PC and Game Pass and our console base, I don't have to go ship those games on any other platforms other than the platforms that we support in order to kind of make the deal work for us, whatever that means. So even in Kotaku's own article, Phil basically says, I don't have to put those games on another platform to make my money back. And that's exactly what they're doing. But, of course, you can't make this clickbaity headline to call out Xbox because there's a game that you actually want to play on your PlayStation by using the full quote, because the full quote basically says they're going to be exclusive. And the interviews that I've talked about here all point to that. At no point did he say Redfall, Starfield, they're all going to be on the PlayStation 5. He said from the very beginning, it was done to make exclusives for Xbox. It's going to live on platforms where Game Pass exists. We didn't pull anything away from Bethesda. Games that still exist on that platform still exist. But you didn't lose Redfall or Elder Scrolls because you never had it in the first place. I don't know what's so hard about this, but I know deep down, it's really difficult to look at a game that you really want to play, that you've been talking smack about for so long, talking smack about the Xbox platform for years, made it a part of who you are online, and to finally see everything come together. Oh man, the Bethesda games look really good, and they're going to be exclusive. Oh my god, ABK is going to make Xbox a force again. Xbox Game Studios like Hellblade 2 and Avowed are getting close to release, among others. Yeah, Reckoning's coming. And it's certainly great to see. All of this really speaks to me and says, with a clear, concise message, everybody wants to play Xbox exclusives. Yeah, wow, I mean, that turned out to be an incredibly long video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, check out the description for all the information about the Xbox 2 Patreon. Love you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.